So for you to get started, all you have to do is type in notebooklm.google.com. Now, I'm going to show you what my notebooks look like, and then you will be able to create and go crazy with yours. So if you think about a notebook, it's kind of like this collection of resources that you put together on a particular something. So I'm going to give you a couple of use cases and some notebooks that you may want to create. So I use it for me personally when I'm learning about a new topic. So for example, I've been learning lately about Substack. And so I've been doing some research. So I would put together a notebook called Substack and put that in there. The one that I'm going to share with you in that document, it actually has and I'll share this just so you know. So this is kind of what we're going off of here. So if you click this hyperlink, it's going to take you to an example of a notebook that I put together for you. Okay. And it's on all kinds of ways that educators can use NotebookLM, if that makes sense. And if someone wants to add that link as people come in, feel free to reshare that for me. Like I said, because you registered, I will send this out. It has some different prompts in here that can help you, and we'll circle back to that. But so I kind of just want to start almost fresh. Let's say we're first starting a new notebook. So I'm going to click here where it said new notebook, and this screen will come up. And all you have to do to use this tool is to have a Gmail account. So it's totally free. If someone wants to pop in the chat, I'll actually model how I might use this for lesson planning. So if you have a topic that you're covering that's new, feel free to pop that in the chat and I'll use it as I model this. So something that you're teaching upcoming in the next couple of days. This is definitely considered. Thank you for asking that, Rebecca. It is a closed loop. So the difference, and this is important to understand, the difference between using this and ChatGPT or another, model is that it's only going to pull from the information that we give it. So if you just were to go to ChatGPT and search for one of the things that you all are popping in here, then it would be pulling from all kinds of information. But if we give it just this particular bit of information, that's where the power comes in. So someone has plants in here, and I'm hoping that I say your name, Jody, but I'm going to go with the life cycle of plants. Okay. So if you already have files that you use, let's say they're on Google Drive or PDFs, you can put those here. You could also put in copied text. So if you have a set, or if you don't have any resources that you've collected, you can just search the web. So for this example today, I'm just going to search the life cycle of plants, and I'm going to make it for third grade. I hope that's appropriate there. And what it's doing, so now you'll see, this is kind of like the landscape. So we're in a notebook, and then there's 3 columns. This one on the left is all of the resources that we've added in. The middle one is a chat feature. And then the right hand is where the power comes in with the studio. And I'm going to show you what can happen here. So it pulled up some different resources, and I can click the word view and then be able to look at some of these resources. Now, I don't know if they're any good or not, but I'm just going to import them so that we can see. Ideally, you would want to put things in here that you collect that are meaningful. You can also, if like you're on YouTube, for example, so let's say I am here on YouTube, and let's say I look up life cycle of plants. And if I find a video that I like, let's say this is cute, we'll put this here. There's an icon that I have called NotebookLM. Whoops. Or I can just grab this link. So we'll say copy. And then when I come back to my notebook, and of course I already have too many tabs open, I will click add sources and then click websites. So this is like my YouTube link that I'm going to put in here. So there's multiple ways that you can add sources. You can have the web search, or you can pull it from the sources that you add to it. And Jennifer, I'm not sure if I understand your question, if it's automatically integrated with Gemini. If you want to unmute and just explain that.
Hold on.
There you
Sorry.
go.
I was having
That's
a
okay.
tough time with the click on my, I don't have my mouse. Sorry. So, Gemini is its own AI source, and this is using same AI, but it's looped. So it's more, the models are more focused. Is it pulling from Gemini? We have Gemini and then,
Yes. So right now, this is just pulling what we're going to do with it is only pulling from the resources that I've given it. Okay. And so
is it the modeling from Gemini? Do you imagine you would be going back and forth with both? Or this is where within your classroom setting and education,
I would
you
say
want to use this?
yes, because of the tools that are available and what it can do with these pieces of information that we've collected. Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
it gets, we have Gemini and then this kind of book's been around for a little bit. Yeah. So thank you. Yeah,
so
that,
it's
that,
powered by Google in the sense of, Google's this brand up here, and
right,
then there's parts that's come off of it,
right,
like YouTube is something from,
right.
and then and they are coming up with new things almost daily. Someone mentioned it does say that it has access to Gemini, and it also, I will say on the flip side, I just read an article that said when you're working in, let's say, Google Docs, you could pull in resources from Notebook. Now, we're not going to go there today because, frankly, I haven't explored it and I don't know exactly how that integrates yet, but that is definitely something that can be accomplished.
Okay.
So let's say we have our collection of resources, and then in here, we're able to have a chat with it. Okay. And I put a couple of prompts on this notebook prompt guide here that may or may not be helpful, but let's say, and I don't even know if this is something necessarily that is that exciting, but I want you to just model how it would look. Generate a student summary. We'll paste this here. Generate a student-friendly summary of the key concepts for life cycles of plants, formatted as guided notes with blank spaces for students to fill in. So I could put this in, and what it's going to do now is it's looking at all of this information, and it's going to come up with whatever I've asked it for. Okay. The link to the notebook that I created should be in this doc. If that link doesn't work, let me know and I can fix that. But I'll paste that there. Okay, so this helped me to make guided notes like, you know, most plants begin their life cycle as what? Again, that's not a super great example, so we won't worry about it. Where it gets a little bit exciting is over in here. So each of these are considered studio outputs. And what you can do is create different things with them. So I want to show you a little bit about these, and they do take a small bit of time to create. I share that we may not see them in action on my example that I have here, but I'll show you some that have already been created. An infographic is going to do pictures. So this is really fun. That one is down towards the bottom. When I click infographic, that there's all these different styles. Okay, so this will create images for you to be able to utilize with your students. So let's say we know they love anime, and let's create a colorful explanation of the life cycle of plants. And so you can look up here and you're able to change like portrait, square. If you want it to be detailed, you can add that in here. If you want certain colors, you can click generate. And then it's going to create basically an image that I could use with these sources. Now you'll notice it says based on 11 sources. So it's using all of these sources. If I just wanted to use one of them, then I would only check the one. Let's see what else. Audio overview is going to be where you can basically create a PowerPoint for the different people talking to each other back and forth. And you'll notice in the text here, it's even giving you like, what do you want to talk about? And so you can say there's plus signs here. So let's say that's a fun one, teacher lesson guides. Like maybe you want to get the main points and have it create an audio overview of that, or pollination process walkthrough. So you can see there's a deep dive. This is between two hosts, a brief, which is like just a little overview, a critique, and then a debate. Now I'm going to see, I think I have one of these already created. And this one is for Romeo and Juliet. And you can see it was a deep dive. And if I hover over this little icon, oh, and I should mention, once it renders or creates the thing, down below is where it will be shown. So here's Romeo and Juliet. That's the one I was going to show you. So if I want to see the prompt, I can click here where it says View Custom Prompt. And then I can click here. Let me ask, can someone give me a thumbs up or maybe in the chat? Can you hear when it's playing? Okay, let me check my sound and see if it would be helpful to share in some way. Sorry, friends. I think that I'll try one more time, but it might not be sharing because we're on Zoom. Okay, so I don't know if you could hear that super well, but it's two people and they are casually talking about Romeo and Juliet. And it makes a ton of sense because they're just having a conversation. So for me, this was like really eye-opening as something that would be incredibly valuable for students who are our auditory learners. You could make these little mini podcasts or mini sound bites that you could use in your classroom. Learners, you could have it to where in here it slows it down a little bit. So if you made a podcast about our plants, for example, and it walked them through that, and then each of these you can actually download and then post them somewhere. So maybe if you have a YouTube channel or on your website somewhere, and be able, your Google Classroom, wherever you share content with students, that would be really helpful. So that's the audio overview. Another one is called Slide Deck. And when you come in here, this is basically making an AI slide deck based on, again, on your sources. Okay. So let's see. I don't know if that's not one. I think I might have one here. They take a little while to render, so that's why I was hoping that I had one that was already created. Here is a video. So this will actually take you and go through. And this is the one that's called video overview. So when you click here, you can have explainer or brief. Now I have a pro account but it's not that big of a deal to not have that, but the explainer and brief are really good. So it will create a video of someone talking, explaining all of the key elements. Let's see. I'm so sorry. I thought I had pulled up my sample ones that had all of them in there to be able to show you. Here's our image of our plant light. Okay, now that's a little bit crazy, and that's because I chose animation for the example. But you get the idea that you can go in and create custom images. So let's go ahead and we'll click infographic again. And now, do you notice the difference of what happened when I clicked there? It just started generating, and that's because I should have clicked this arrow. And then the problem also is that once it starts generating, there's no way to stop it. Let's come back over to Romeo and Juliet. And another thing that it can make would be flashcards. And so right here, you'll see when you click this arrow, you can have like easy, hard, and it will quiz them. So like for Romeo and Juliet, this was a great example. So like in Act 1, Scene 1, which two Capulet servants are looking to start a fight. And when you click there, it says see answer. And then there's a little explain tab. And then over here, it will explain it. So think about this for reviewing a topic. So you can share your notebooks and you can, depending on the level of your students, be able to let them, utilize this. I'm just going to pause and ask if there's any questions. I know someone had put in the chat, if someone had a teacher's page, for example, and use this to create infographics or worksheets, did they own the copyright so they could sell it on teachers' pages? I do not know the answer to that. I do know that I'm always careful to just leave the Notebook LM icon at the bottom when it creates the slides, for example. That's very helpful. I'm going to come in here to the Missouri history one and just take a look. This was one. This is called a mind map. So that's another thing that is happening over here in the studio. When you click mind map, it will generate this. So you can click, so like this is third grade social studies curriculum, a study of Missouri. This is the course overview. And when you click on any of these things, then it will open it up to let you read more about it here in the main area. I'm going to see if we create let's see what happens on this one here. Oh, see, that's much better. Is that cute or what? So we have the pictures and the graphics, and it's really good about getting the words right now, which that was not true just a little bit ago. So I'm going to create a slide deck, and we'll say that I want to create a slide deck that is appropriate for teaching the life cycle of a plant. Let's see, life cycle of a plant that is for third graders. One of the things that I love is telling it to use paper craft, use the paper craft style. and I'll keep it on detailed deck. Okay, then you noticed here it also says choose languages. So how amazing is that? I don't even know what some of those are, a lot of them. So I'm going to click generate and we'll see what happens there. I'm also going to show you a little tip. Someone asked, can you edit the text in the image that is created? And yes, you can. Here's a little secret. So if this is the image that is generated, if I click the little three dots and say download, and then if you have which hopefully everyone does, it has a free teacher Canva account, you can come in here and let's say I wanted to create, I'll just pick this one because it's there, that thumbnail there. And then I want to, let's say, upload. And I'll grab that image. And I don't know if any of you have played with this yet, but it is mind blowing what it can do here. So when you have your image, or maybe even, let's say I was just focused on plants and I didn't want that part of it to be in there, I could cut that off or whatever. And then here, now what we do is go to edit. And there's this thing called magic layers. And so it scans the whole image and then it's going to break it apart into individual pieces. So now you can go in and move around all of the layers on the image. And there's a lot in here, so it's probably grabbing all of that. And you can edit the text here in Canva. You cannot edit it at this time over on Notebook. But look at that. So it made all of these individual pieces. So let's say I wanted to grab all of these things here and get rid of them. You get the idea. And then maybe I want to move this, make it bigger. I mean, what is that amazing or what? So that's Canva. And that tool was under when I went to grab the picture and I say edit. And then it's called Magic Layers. All right, let's see. Okay, so that's going to generate our slide deck. If you wanted to generate a report of some kind, so let's remember this doesn't have to always be a report, but let's say you have a blog or maybe you do a Facebook or you wanted to create a study guide for students. You could come in here and then when you click that, it's automatically going to fill in. So like you're a highly capable research assistant and tutor, and I might add for third graders. Create a detailed study guide with 2 to 3 questions and then click generate. And then it will make that for me. Another fun thing to do is to create a video overview and you can give it characters and even say Freddie the Frog and tell about his life cycle. Make the video along those lines. So it doesn't just have to pull in, like a standard video. You could actually, if you have like students in your class and you wanted to put their names in it, you could do that too. So I'm going to stop because I know I'm sharing a lot, but let's see what it created for our study guide. So that's kind of helpful, Maybe you could also come in here and say, so I'm going to close the studio out, but say, I want to design 5 hands-on STEM activities for my students. Can you suggest ideas? And so now it's going to scan all of these and see if it could have 5 activities. What's also neat about when you're having the conversation in here is whatever output it has, you can save it as either a source or you could save it as a note, which would put it over here. So right here, I'll say save to note. And then now I have that and I can come in and remember it here. So, like, maybe I want to create a video that explains the seed dissection lab. I could just copy that text and put that into the direction. Great question. Can you collaborate on a notebook? Yes. So up here, you click share, and then you can change the settings just like in Google Drive. You can say public, anyone, or maybe anyone with the link can view this notebook. You can also send it directly to them, and you can ask them to be an editor. So that would be really powerful when you're collaborating or building your resources for using with other educators. Now, I would challenge, someone said our students starting to use this. I would challenge you to say, please teach them, because how powerful this would be as they are, working up to be able to put together a notebook and be able to reference it and talk and have conversations and teach them to build things for themselves. So, like, audio overviews would be so powerful when they're on the go. No, so NotebookLM, it is actually, someone asked, you're only allowed to do so many things in a certain amount of time period. I mean, I had to really push this thing to get to the capacity. I mean, I made 10 slide shows in a day, and that's when it started to give me a little pushback. However, there are limits, but you'll be hard pressed to get to it. I think on the free account, you can add up to 50 resources, or 50 sources, I should say here. And then, it will reach a capacity if you have it generate so many movies, because that's going to take longer tokens. And you can even see like the slide decks take a little bit longer to create. Any other questions that people are having, feel free to throw them in the chat while that is generating. I will show you just real fast. So here's one of the movies. This is like, and you're probably going to have troubles hearing it. On the go. Okay, so that video was actually made, I'm going to say, I don't even know, probably several months ago. And that's like ancient in the world of AI. And it is literally, I'm going to show you a different account that I have here, because it is just blowing my mind how quickly things are changing and updating. I'm trying to find, I have so many notebooks, that's a problem. I'll use this one. Oops. So this was a workshop that so on my other business is I teach AI. Obviously, I'm very passionate about it, but this one. Welcome back. Today, we are going to dive into a huge challenge that many people talk about how to build a brand for your company, a central intelligent player that will change up how your team work and create. And we're going to use it in an incredible tool called Flashcards. So, now I'm going to show you here too. There's 3 dots. If you click that, and I don't know if any of you are like this, but I'm like, come on, lady, you're speaking way too slow. You can actually do this speed like double time. Now that makes my husband crazy when I do that, but that is definitely an option. And again, you can download those. You could put them on YouTube if you wanted to make a YouTube channel for your students to listen and watch. Someone said, could I give it an example of a document from one lesson and have it copy that format for another lesson? Absolutely. So you would upload your document and then say, okay, now the problem is for it to have new information, you have to give it, you have to feed it what you want the content to be based on. You would have to provide it with that background information, if that makes sense. And then on the plants, it may not have rendered quite yet. But let's see. Yay. Okay, so here, I mean, okay, you guys, I'm obsessed with paper craft. That's what this style is. So the journey of a seed, an interactive story about how plants grow, change, and make new life. So here we go. What is the life cycle? It shows you birth, growth, reproduction, death. Look closer inside a seed. I mean, how awesome is this? There is literally no need for you to hand make presentations anymore. That is just not a good use of your time when something looks this beautiful and is correct. And again, if I don't like something or wanted to change it, I would just do that same concept, pull it into Canva and just update it. Oh my gosh, this is so good. Can I get a woot woot in the chat for how awesome this is? Um, let's see. I think it's Dana. Dana, I am assuming you cannot add a student text if it is online. I'm not sure I understand that question. Feel free to unmute. Okay, let's see. Did I get everyone else's question? Okay, so anything to kind of wrap things up? Another way that you could use this is to feel free to upload if you have curriculum guides or anything like that. Feel free to, you could upload those in here and then have conversations and get clarity on, making more sense of it. And like I said, if you have some time later, take this Google Doc and kind of look over all of these things that are in here because there's a lot of great stuff. Generate a warm up activity, create a briefing document. If you do a parent newsletter, you could say, give me a summary for something they could do for an at-home extension. What else? There's 20 ways teachers can use NotebookLM in the classroom. There's all kinds of different ideas here. You could have it build a rubric for you, support your multilingual learners, create parent communication materials, and then this is actually straight from NotebookLM. And I said, create a guide for teachers to read through that would be super simple for them to understand and have kind of an outline of what it is. And then this last one is like how you could use it for professional development, for learning about a topic, that you're interested in. Okay, here is the Notebook LM for educators. It's on the first tab. And when you click that, it'll take you to the notebook that I created for you. And that should work.